We need to talk about these plants. They're just not doing it for me anymore, so they need to go. But I just can't bring myself to get rid of something I put so much time into. So I did the sensible thing and hired a band of world-class thieves to steal them away for me. Take it away, Bentley.
Time to pull off the big heist. I call it Operation Weed Whacker. In order to successfully remove the upgrade plants from their positions in each room, we'll have to be sneaky. Each fruit bulb is closely guarded by an army of psychological mechanisms meant to protect their creator's ego. As long as the designer stays attached to his idea, there's no way to get them out of there. If we're going to get at these plants, we'll need to come up with a replacement that works even better. First, Murray will need to move the red, blue, and yellow upgrades into the doors that unlock each room. Since there are 24 doors, there can be exactly 8 of each type, which means players can't take the same one each time. Sly, you'll need to advertise which upgrade is in each door so people can know what they'll get when they open it. This will incentivize players to pay for the door, since there will now be an obvious benefit. Once the upgrade system has been absorbed into the doors for each room, there will be no reason to keep the plants around. Then we can swoop in, steal the upgrade fruit, and those plants are as good as gone.
Given my electrical engineering background, this plan has a 97% chance of success. Pretty good, huh?
Like ripping off a Band-Aid. Still stings a little, but it had to be done. Welcome to Devlog 4, everybody. Like Bentley was saying, before this change, the player could choose the same upgrade every time, meaning the buffs could stack and eventually snowball, which is really hard to balance. Now that we have only 8 of each upgrade instead of potentially 16 of just one type, I can boost their effects and make them way more helpful. For example, the blue buff deals with your ammunition like before, but instead of decreasing your reload time by a little bit, it increases your max ammo by 30, which is a pretty sizable chunk. The red buff still affects your health, of course, but instead of bumping it up by a percentage of your max health, now it adds a flat 25 HP. And finally, the yellow buff is completely different. It used to reduce the cooldown of each character's ability, but since I don't want to make every hero's skill subject to a refresh timer, this kind of upgrade wouldn't always work with everyone. So it was time to think of something new, and obviously it was really important to make sure it related to the color yellow so I could keep my primary color thing going on. After noodling on it for a bit, the answer was staring me straight in the face. The only other thing important to players besides their health and ammo was that cold hard cash.
Easy money!
Boosting the amount of money these yellow-eyed guys drop could really help out in the early game when money is tight. Plus, it will keep these enemies relevant even after players find better sources of that delicious dough. Well, that takes care of that. And since I'm in the spirit of undoing the mistakes of the past, why don't we also give the main menu a facelift? Shoutouts to this guy for the color palette. It's pretty slick if I do say so myself, and I do. Okay, with all that rework out of the way, it's time we added a new biome, something spicy. Yeah, close enough. Volcanoes are similar enough to caves, so I'll just rip a quick copy and paste on the cavern biome here so we can get a little jump start on the textures and layout.
Brother, what's that, brother?
Yeah, these floor tiles are really rubbing me the wrong way. But not for long. And with that, there's only 10 more biomes left.
But I'm not done yet!
Oh yeah, we can't forget to add the gimmick that goes with each biome, and in a volcano, surprise, surprise, it's gotta be lava. Now obviously the lava hurts people who walk in it, except for Randall, but there needs to be more to it than that. Since walking in water slows you down, it's only fair that walking on lava speeds you up, right? What a beautiful, poetic symmetry. Alright, with the terrain all sorted out, onto the corresponding character. In a spicy biome like this, we'll need someone hot-headed and feisty to match. Introducing... Carmalita. Now, I know you're thinking I borrowed the name from the Sly Cooper gag from earlier, but I actually decided on it way before making this video. I know you don't believe me though, so here you go, have your fun. Anyway, being a fire elemental deity thing, she of course needs to float majestically. And because I needed a way to showcase how much energy she has, I figured it'd be pretty funny to have her legs sort of flail around while she moves too, like she's super impatient to get wherever she's going. Now, if you thought she'd have a fire-related ability, well, lucky guess. With a quick flip in the air, Carmalita summons a wall of fire to deal chip damage to any baddies that enter, which might be useful for crowd control and luring enemies behind her. I'm still in the middle of trying to balance her weight and speed, but I intend for this character to be more of a positional run and gunner like Sally or Matilda, rather than an in-your-face tank like Ragnar or Pierre, which is why for the weapons in her room, I decided to go with a set of submachine guns. Their hectic chaos will encourage people playing her to keep moving, which plays to her strengths. Another benefit of getting rid of those pesky fruit plants is that the center of each biome now has room for something more interesting to go, which gave me an idea. What if, after defeating a biome's mini-boss, you could swap to that character immediately? Obviously, you would still unlock that character to play afterward, but it would be so much cooler to be able to play as them right after you beat them. So I'll have one of these swap pads in each room now to let players swap to that biome's associated character, which also kind of justifies why the mini-boss spawns there in the first place. It's all connected. I don't want it getting too overpowered though, so we'll have to limit the amount of times you can swap or add a price tag or something, because if you're low on health, and then swap to Sally, heal yourself, and then swap back, that wouldn't really be in the spirit of the game, you know? And now for the unethical part that I clickbaited you with. You see, during my tests and playthroughs of the game so far, I ended up unlocking like half the biomes before round 10. The only thing really stopping me is the price tag on the doors, which really cheapens the experience of unlocking a new biome. Finally being able to open a door and explore a new room should be a way bigger deal than it is right now, and should feel like a real milestone in the playthrough. I mean, you're getting access to new terrain and weapons, as well as the opportunity to permanently unlock a new character to play, so it should feel like a real achievement. I thought about just raising the cost to open the doors, but that just slows the pace of the game down, which just traps you in one room and forces you to grind a bunch of money, really killing the vibe. Instead, here's what we're gonna do. By adding destructible barriers throughout the room, each biome is artificially divided into smaller sections, forcing the player to slowly open up the room to gain access to the door. That way, it takes way longer to actually unlock a new biome without stalling exploration, since there's still plenty of internal areas to open within each room. It does feel a little cheap though doing things like this, like I'm just padding the runtime of the game, but I think it's a necessary evil. If biome access wasn't restricted like this, I think either players would progress too much too fast, or would just get bored waiting to be able to afford the door. Anyway, let me know in the comments how the game is now basically unplayable and how I'm horrible for doing this. Guys, it's already devlog number 4 and there's only 2 kinds of enemies. On top of that, after I added jumping into the game a while back, it's way too easy to get out of sticky situations. So let's kill 2 birds with 1 stone, shall we? This little guy right here is your new best friend. Just like the other enemies, he wants to walk over and give you a big hug. But unlike the other enemies, he's too tall to jump over. But it gets better. Once you dismiss his attempts at affection with your bullets, he simply turns to stone to block you even in death. I think an enemy like this was sorely needed, not just to counter the jumping mechanic, but also as a way to stop players from farming enemies in a tight area. A lot of wave survival games have a small loop somewhere that allows people to basically stay in one part of the map and easily rack up a bunch of kills. Looking at you, that one part on the stage in Black Ops. But since this new enemy type drops walls when they die to block players, they can clog up any attempts to farm and cheese, which I'm hoping will encourage more exploration and experimentation. I guess time will tell. Well everybody, that just about wraps it up for today. There is one more feature I added, but since I've only put in about half of them, we interrupt your regularly scheduled devlog to bring you this special bulletin. During the editing of this video, we've just received word that Valve has approved the Frenzy Force demo for release on Steam. Now the gentle denizens of the internet no longer need to download the sketchy zip file I posted on itch.io, and can instead simply add the Frenzy Force demo directly to their Steam library. So rather than go into too much detail about the last feature I added, Feel free to download the demo from the new Steam page and see for yourself. I'll even leave a link to it down in the description, just for you. Alright, I've touched enough grass for a while, so I'm going to head back to my coding cave and I'll see you in the next one.